fuel pump was not putting enough fuel pressure out. This required us to upgrade the fuel pump by replacing it. We also had the car put on a dyno machine, which a dyno machine tells you everything about your car. It is also a vital tool in tuning a high-performance engine. I will now explain to you the process of uninstalling the old fuel pump and installing the new fuel pump on this vehicle. First, we're going to talk about how to uninstall the fuel pump. You need to let the engine cool off so you don't burn yourself because of where the fuel pump is located, which is on the engine. And then you need to place a fender cover on the fender so that you don't scratch the paint, especially when it's a brand new paint job. Then you need to take the coil off. And by doing this, you remove the positive and negative power wires and the ignition wire that runs from the coil and the distributor cap. Then you take the bolt that runs through the coil bracket into the head using a 5/8 wrench with a 5/8 wrench, and then the coil will be off. Then you need to remove the actual fuel pump by removing the two bolts that go through the fuel pump into the block with a 5/8 socket and wrench. 5/8 wrench, socket, and extension. Sorry about that. And then gently slide off the fuel pump. And then you need to clean the old gasket off the block and put the new gasket on the new fuel pump. This prevents oil from leaking. And then to install a new fuel pump, the first thing you do is you need to put the fuel pump on the block. And then you adhere the gasket to the pump with RTV glue, which can be found at any hardware store. And then you insert an eccentric rod in the block. And then once the pump is up against the block, you start the bolts and then you tighten the bolts all the way in. Then you take the inlet line from the old pump using a flathead screwdriver to loosen the clamp. After the clamp is loose, you slide it up away from the fuel pump. And then you remove the fuel pump from the hose. In the event the hose is seized onto the pump, use a steel pick to pry it off. But be careful that you don't ruin the hose. And then you're going to take and put the inlet line on all the way on and tighten down the hose clamp with a flathead screwdriver. And then you will take the outlet line from the old pump using a flathead screwdriver to loosen the clamp. And after the clamp is loose, you're going to slide it up away from the fuel pump. And there again, if the hose is seized onto the pump, then you need to use a steel pick to pry it off. And then you put the outlet line from the old pump onto the new pump. And then you tighten it all the way down with a flathead screwdriver. And then you reattach the coil to the head. And you do this by putting the bolt through the coil bracket into the head with a 5/8 wrench and tighten it down. Then you will attach the positive and negative wires to the coil, positive to positive and negative to negative. And then you need to set the fuel pump gauge. You turn the car on to set the fuel pump gauge. In this vehicle, the fuel pump now puts out 10 pounds per square inch. However, this carburetor needs to see only 6 pounds PSI constantly, so we use the fuel pressure regulator to lower the output to 6 pounds PSI. Then you adjust the fuel pressure regulator by reading the gauge as you're turning the adjustment screw to set desired output. In this case, 6 pounds PSI, resulting at a 4 pound PSI reserve. Hopefully this explanation of how to uninstall and install the fuel pump in our 65 Mustang was interesting and enlightening to all of you. Now, you can change the next one, right?